Okay, so my name is Joyce Oron. I came from Israel. And this is a lecture that I built for the Association of Architects about 4 or 5 years ago. I'm going to start the story from there. I finished a building in Givatayim, and it was a building for women, for an organization called Wizo. And since I expressed through that building all my uncertainties about the paper of women, I was asked to present the building in the Association of Architects, and they told me, since you're going to be the first woman presenting in the Forum of Architects, please talk about the subject. At that time, I had the only problem that I thought of that I could talk about was how to relate to the priorities or how to divide time up. That was my personal problem. But as to the aesthetic way of thinking of men and women, I had no idea myself. So when they asked me to put the title of the lecture, I put a question mark. Is there a feminine architecture? Because I suppose that I didn't know the answer myself. But through the preparation of this lecture, I did a lot of research. I also spoke with many, many of my colleagues, couples that work together, men and women architects. I found a lot of literature about the subject of gender and architect combined, and I'm going to show you this. Now, first of all, I'm going to show you the building itself, which is this. What is a woman in this society of today? And I decided to express two things through this building. One is the continuity of generations, our paper in it, by pregnancy, birth, bringing up children. And the other problem is our choice between home and career, which it's a day-to-day problem for me, how to divide up time between home and career. So I express the career woman by these, let's see if I can show it with an arrow, these cutting walls that they cut through the lower and rounder masses of the building. Like a career woman has to cut her way, still today, maybe a little less with time going by, through all her problems and try to get to her aim, while expressing the woman at home by the lower masses of the building itself, low and warmer masses. Now I'm showing the two extremes, both of them as legitimate, and each woman finds her own point for herself. Now the continuity of generation is expressed by the cutting walls again that have this kind of continuity expressed even harder by this slit with light in it, showing that the continuity of the wall inside the building until the top of the roof, showing that symbolically that we are part of the continuity of generations. Now, through the other buildings that I'm going to show now, I'm going to show other buildings of my office. I'm going to express also what the design language, before I answer the question, is there a feminine architecture, what is the design language used in my office? And I use 4 kind of things. The cutting wall, which you already have seen in this building. 2, geometrical blocks cutting into each other. 3, aesthetic contrast created by heavy and light materials. 4, the contrast between the translucent and the monolithic. I'm not explaining now, I'm going to show the projects divided in these 4 groups, and you'll be able to understand this clearly. The cutting wall, you can see here in the school that I did in Gedera. It's a school which has a junior high school and a high school in it. The 2 sections are around a patio, and in the front, which is this over here, are the administrative part of the building. And this is the library of the building. You can see that I use this cutting wall to create contrast, to create aesthetic contrast in the building. This is a neighborhood in Holon where the houses are very economic and very orthogonal, very straight lines. But as contrast, I use this cutting element, a curved element, which is the balcony and the roof of the car parking on its side. You can see a picture on top, so you can see how the houses are so squarish and how the balconies go back and forth from house to house. This is a 3rd building where the cutting wall, this one over here, lost the arrow, which starts as columns at the beginning, as a wall with perforations, and it goes through the building as a totally opaque wall. It has its development. These elements of the entrance also have another contrast. They are very colorful. They're maybe Legretta influenced, also South American originally, and they contrast by the line and by the colors of the rest of the building that are very neutral. This is a school in Rishon LeZion. It's a specialized school, and because it's specialized children with psychological problems, the basic plan are separate buildings where the recess is taking advantage of the sunny climate in Israel is on the outside and not in a space inside the building where you have more of the sound and the quiet and the peacefulness of the outside. But the buildings are connected together by these cutting walls. You can have another details of the building. So you can see through the wall and the perforations. Or here's a wall that finished and has something interesting to it. Some details of the inside of the building. And this is a very, very primitive model that we did in the office, but it does explain somehow how this space was created and how the walls connect between the buildings to make one element instead of separate elements of different buildings. Here, this is a theater in Ashkelon where the elements of continuation are not by walls but by spots of light that guide you into the building, and columns, lines of columns. You can see here how the spots of light and the columns drive you towards the building. Here's a building inside. Here's a second subject that I mentioned, the cutting blocks into each other. This is a kindergarten for children, so it's quite natural to use play blocks to express that inside it's a place for children. It's in the Gea Hospital in Petach Tikva, so it's also a specialized children with psychological problems. So the colors are very in understatement. You can see tridimensional shapes, pyramids, squares, and bidimensional shapes for the windows, 45-degree slanted windows, or cylinders. Here's the inside, which tries to combine itself with the outside. Here's another shape. This is a triangle, and it's a library that I planned in for Haifa municipality. The basic shape, also in the facade and also the plan, is a triangle because the original shape of the land has this triangle that bothers to create any other shape. So it came out as a composition of triangles in every sense. This is a kindergarten in Givat Shmuel where you can see the round ceilings and roofs piercing the slanted ones in different direction. You can see it from a plane. It was photographed from abroad. This is a new building in Yerucham. It's a youth building, Sofim they called it in Israel, for weekend activities. The building is basically like a donut, and it's covered with a bridge on top, and there's some details that came out from this combination of both shapes. Here you can see the details of how one shape connects with the other. This is a project I'm working on right now, which is the main street of Ganei Tikva, which has a combination of cylinders, tall, short, red, silver-colored. The bidimensional shapes are circles with dampka or stripes, black and white and gray, and it's going to be constructed very soon.